You're listening to The Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. We're speaking to Elvis again. We're talking about the UN and the different problems that it's causing and to do with Islam. So how have you been, Elvis? What's been happening? And what's happening in the UK? It's important to kind of find out what's happening with the Brexit and all that sort of stuff.
Well, with the Brexit, we have to wait to see what's the outcome. And the yellowest demonstrators, they go in every Saturday, including today. They basically get into Trafalgar Square, and they're going to demonstrate. And I'll be having an interview with RB Inman this evening, regarding my arrest on the 15th. So, because it was everything, unlawful.
You were arrested again. Just give us a quick brief over that again. You were arrested for hate speech, was it? Or
No, I was arrested. They said it was racially aggravated public disorder. On 3 weeks before that, 3 weeks prior to my arrest, basically, they said it was on the 10th of the 12th. And I was like wondering why you didn't arrest me then. Yeah. And everything was a baseless accusation. It was nothing on me. And they kept me for over sort of 14 or 16 hours in the cell. And as actually,
what's the legal amount to be held in, Elvis, before they have to either do a charge or let you go? There is a legal amount that they can hold you without giving you charges, and then they must either give you a charge or let you go. What's that amount?
Yeah, they said it's 12 hours, but since I was arrested to time I was released, it was all 16 hours, over 16 hours.
That was
yeah, and kind of, it was absolutely no base on anything they were saying. They said it's all taped, so everything is on the tape, everything is there, and I'm going to be interviewed and sort of showing the evidence. But when they came and released me, the guy said it might have been a different person, yeah. So released me without even saying apologies or anything. Later on, even when they were releasing me, at the same time giving my belongings to me, I remember it was a double sheet A4, like folded, like a form, yeah. And that was all the details that they usually give you after that when you are released. Then everything from the name of the officer who was arrested, you, why, everything, location, everything is in there.
Yeah.
And before I leave, I don't know whether the guy hide the form or I didn't, basically I forgot simply or not. Then when I left the station, I noticed, I forgot my form. When I went back, only 5 minutes later, 10 minutes maximum, yeah. When I rang the bell and asked them, I forgot my form. Then the guy asked my question, what's your name? And when I give the name and everything, he brought a single white sheet of paper, A4, which was very brief, right? And they even destroyed the papers they're supposed to give me as evidence, basically. And kind of, I said, well, it was a different form. He said, no, it's the same. He copied it. He tore it away. And I was just thinking, why did you tear it away? You could easily post it to me later or wait for me until I come back and take it. Anyway, it's all corruption after corruption.
Really is, isn't it? It's shocking.
Yeah.
how far they've gone, the police in Ireland and the UK. The UK especially, um, like after talking to that lady whose child was murdered, along with
Yeah,
two other boys that you introduced me to,
crazy,
Tracy,
crazy.
yeah, really opened my eyes. Like, I always knew media and governments lied, but not to the extent of making up the whole story, and saying that she was, quoting or misquoting her, or actually blatant lies. It wasn't even a quote, to say that
Mm.
that she cracked down on drink driving when she never even mentioned drink driving.
Yeah,
It was insane because it was a terrorist attack, and
yeah.
for the police and the media, and then anybody who she tried to get justice for her child, where she was called a racist.
Yeah.
Crazy amount. I mean, that really opened my eyes. I mean, my eyes were open to corruption anyway, but I think her story just brought it on to a completely different level. I'm like, Jesus, you can't even get justice for your own child without them calling you a racist.
Yeah. And imagine you have lost your child and they still calling you racist and all that, not having a mercy on you. Imagine what would they do with me or anybody else. We got police actually in many occasions, yeah, called our people because you are racist, and even said because you are a far right. Imagine police is
Absolutely.
judging, without, he's not there to judge, yeah. He's calling everybody, because you are racist, because you are a far right. I mean, I don't understand.
It's absolutely insane. Well, I'm beginning
Mm.
to think in Ireland anyway, Antifa is connected to the government, and the reason being is everything that the government is pushing down the Irish throats, the Antifa stand for. So, for instance, this guy who runs the yellow vest movement. Now, he wasn't the founder, but he runs and he stops evictions in Ireland, and from people being thrown out onto the streets. He got 3 months for, and when he Antifa, they were trying to do a fundraising in a pub in Blackrock in Dublin, and
Yeah,
they basically Antifa rang them up and harassed them to stop them, saying, "Oh, don't have this
yeah,
racist, um, homophobic there,"
yeah,
and they literally hounded the pub until they backed down. And then no basis was he a racist or a homophobic. It
yeah,
was the fact that he was stopping people from being evicted, and the Antifa went after him hard. And I'm beginning to get really suspicious that this is Antifa as a government organisation, and they're
yeah,
government trolls, because another one, Air Exit, which is like your Brexit, tried to have a meeting in a hotel in Waterford. And again, Antifa rang up and, started threatening them. And basically, when they didn't get their own way, they went online saying, "This racist is going
yeah,
to this," and the hotel refuses to stop it. Let's all use our free speech and ring them up. So basically, that's incitement to hate, what they did. But
yeah,
they're allowed to do that, where we're not even allowed to talk about leaving the EU, or we're racist.
yeah.
It's crazy. Absolutely. But I'm beginning to think that it is government ran, because it's all what the government wants.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, government has employed this bunch of morons, yeah, I would call bunch of brainless
Absolutely.
idiots
What they really
that
are. They really are what
either,
they say they're anti. They
if
really
you
are.
look at majority of them, they are a bunch of unemployed, I don't know, hippies
Yeah.
or people who sell themselves for money, basically, bunch of youngsters being provided with everything, you know. Even the people actually came as a remainers, we call them, um,
Loners.
yeah. Those people, look at it, for example, there is a guy called Drunken Steve, we call him. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
been given a, a luxury flat in front of the sort of house of one of the top Brexit, conservative MPs, right? Called Mog, yeah, and he's not working. He's there, and God knows he's what he's up to. Definitely, he's getting paid. And people been sent actually. Those people been sent actually given a brown envelope, 50 to 80 pounds each, every time they turn up. And what the government is doing now, doing all the best. Look, because European, they know other European countries they want to leave, right? So what it is, because Britain is the first one, it's they treat it like a laboratory mouse, yeah. So they try to actually do anything to make and twist and turn this thing, makes it difficult. So far, 2.5 years we've been waiting, and it's nothing, right? Just to tell the other European countries that, look, it's not easy. Forget about leaving, because you're going to go through the same process, yeah, possibly harder. So this is what they're doing. They're a bunch of corrupted, twisted people, sitting there ruling the world. And we know, we already mentioned, who are they? Bunch of Satanists, bunch of people, devil worshippers sitting there with everything based on the Satan, yeah? Either the United Nations or the EU,
Yeah.
So, but we have to shout about it. What I think is, if you know and you keep it silent, you betray your people, and don't do that. There are things in here. I'm trying to actually focus on the education part of the United Nations organization called UNESCO, and just give this information to parents, especially those who got the kids, that know what's happening to your kids. Know why these youngsters now, they are such a brainwashed people coming, sort of trying to sell their own country, trying to give up their own sovereignty and everything, or to a bunch of barbaric, sort of uneducated, uncivilized people. I mean, it doesn't make sense. But now, hopefully, with all this I'm going to be reading for you, it will make sense.
Okay.
That they have done to our kids. So if you remember last time I said, part of the United Nations that including this woman called Barbara Marx Hobart, and she was saying 1/4 of the humanity must be eliminated from the social body. We are in charge of God's selection process for planet Earth. He selects, we destroy. We are the rides of the pale horse death. So look, they have already said it to all of us. Yeah. So they have already said it, mentioned it. And what it is, the scary bit is the number that they're going to destroy. It says a total population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% decline from present level would be ideal. 95%. Yeah? We're going to be left, the whole earth, with 5% population basically remaining. Ted Turner, CNN founder and UN supporter, quoted in the McAlvany Intelligence Advisor, June 96. And that is back in 96, don't forget. So they're trying to destroy us. They're trying to completely wipe us out. And they're not going to do it by bringing the army on the street and killing us like that. They're going to throw people on each other.
Yeah.
By people
dividing contact.
each other. Yeah, confronting each other in any aspect, either sort of bringing so this is why they bring in the killing machines, right, if you want. That's why if you remember, I said Islam is the perfect thing for them, because Islam is all with that rule of destroying, raping, killing, and is an ideal ideology for the Westerners. The kind of Middle Easterns.
And particularly women. So women, then if you kill like so many women, which Islam does, and destroys, then you stop production pretty much of the human race. So have to
and now
really
imagine they want to complete it, bringing sort of something over 59 million more Africans based on that Marrakesh agreement. 59 million more on top of 73 million already brought into Europe. So to make sure they're going to complete,
destroy Europe. Why Europe do they want to go so much after? What is it about Europe that they really seem to be? That's the one that, South African whites, I do realise that they kind of went after them first. And the world paid no attention practically to the white South Africans being murdered and slaughtered every day. But now they're after the Europeans.
Yeah, because they know, you see, Europe is the center of the civilization that we got in the world. Everything from here basically took place or transferred. Look at the American. Who are they? America formed by Europe, by British. Who are the Australians? Same. And we had sort of Asia, which is sort of, again, all majority formed by European and the Western technology, even finance and everything. Japan, it started everything by sort of help of America and the Westerns, and sort of same as other countries. You look at for example, South Korea. So what it is, they know everything is coming out from here, is the center of the history and culture and civilization and technology and everything. So if the Europe get destroyed, everything get destroyed. So that's why they're targeting Europe. That's I think that's how they're going to do it. 95% of world population is a large amount of people. It's a large number.
Once Europe is gone, then I suppose they can attack. I suppose then it's America. After Europe, America and Australia has to fall. I suppose America, Canada, Australia, that whole continent. Australia as well, and the whole American continent, North America, Canada, Mexico, all that. South America.
If you look at the videos coming from Canada, they're also in a deep trouble. They're not much better than what we are. In America, because it's a large country, it doesn't show. But really, truly, a few states that are in a deep mess. Was that one of the states, I forgot the name of it, is literally turned to a Somalia. Texas, for example. Texas is all Muslim, taken by Muslim. Now they're creating.
You understand why they flooded Mexico or Texas, because that was a very proud American state. Texans were really proud, cowboy type of characters. So you can kind of see why they're attacking the stronghold of America.
Imagine they are also very, very religious one. Texas, majority of them are very hard Christian. But this is what the Muslim actually do. Look, the enemy does target where is the core. So once they come in there, start spreading, especially, they got the whole support of the government. Don't forget, Obama did what he did to America now.
He destroyed America.
Obama flooded the image.
Obama was absolutely a disgrace. Like, before the green card was something like 45% Irish all went to the Green, and that's why it was called Green Card for Ireland. And then you
Yeah.
had a huge percentage after that, maybe 20% Italian, and the rest for the rest of the
Yeah.
world. But when Obama came in, he got rid of the Green Card and he called it a diversity
Yeah,
visa.
diversity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Diversity program.
And
Yeah.
basically, he gave 7% the whole of Europe and the rest to African and Muslim countries. So that
Yeah. I mean, imagine how stupid it is. You bring in somebody absolutely unknown. You don't know who the hell he is, right? You bring it in and say, yeah, that's your green card, already you're in.
yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's like you owning a mansion, a house, or large building, yeah, with hundreds of, rooms. And you bring in people from, I don't know, on the every corner of the street and just say, yeah, okay, you get that flat, and that's yours for nothing. Yeah. I mean, this is
Those people,
happening.
the leftists argue, well, the Irish got it, and we did. But the difference is we got nothing with that. We got the right to go there, but you had to
Yeah.
work. You got no houses, no cars, no whatever.
Yeah.
You had to work, and you had to start from the bottom and work hard. There was no free money for the Irish. There wasn't, going. And then people argue, oh well, maybe because the Irish went over were more educated. You're not comparing apples with pears or something. But that wasn't true. A lot of the Irish left who were very working class and left school early and went to
Yeah.
America. Some of them didn't even speak English. They were Gaeilgeoirs, Irish speakers, and went to America and made a life for themselves. They had to do it all themselves. There was no handouts. There was no special classes to learn English. There was no, help for their school for their children. They had to do, and whatever it was, whether it was cleaning, big hotels, sweeping the roads, building the toughest jobs they went into, mainly police, firemen,
Yeah.
nurses, all the really tough jobs, the cleaners, the hard, and they built up until the next generation kind of became middle class Americans. But it took a few generations for the Irish to do well in America to get on. But they had to start at the very bottom. And people kind of arguing, saying, oh, they went with education. A lot of them didn't. The majority of them didn't. For generations, didn't go over with any education. So it's unfair to say that. And they had to work. Whether these refugees now into America, the diversity that he brought in. Thankfully, Trump is stopping that. But the ones we're getting into Ireland, they have no education. They've no records of who or what they had done in their own country.
Yeah.
They're calling them refugees or migrants. They're not
Yeah.
legal migrants. Nobody has seen any of the papers. Nobody knows anything about them. They're not refugees because most of them don't even come from war-torn countries. And this is the kind of argument the leftists keep pulling up. Oh, nobody's illegal. But yeah, you are illegal. If you don't know your background and if you haven't got anything to hide, then why do you have a problem filling out forms? Like, I do know a lot of Irish who did go to America and work under the table. And some of them did get caught and got thrown out. Now, in fairness, a lot of the ones who got thrown out and said, yeah, it was my own fault, I should have filled in the papers. The reason why they didn't fill in the papers because they didn't want to pay the taxes. So they were getting money under the table. But, if you're there in a country, you should really be paying their taxes. So it's, and all of them admit that it was their own fault for getting kicked out. You should, pay your taxes and fill in the forms.
My mother was one of those actually who won the green card. And on the second trip to America, when she was leaving, she said she gave it back to the police and she said, thank you very much. I'm going to give it back to you. And she left. And she said the police was basically the immigration officer, whatever, in the thing. She said, it was shocked. What? No, she couldn't believe, he couldn't believe that, somebody giving the green card back, saying, no, thank you very much. She didn't want it.
Why did you do that? Why did you
Yeah.
do that? Felt that America wasn't the place you wanted to be.
No, really. No, she said it was madness because, imagine she was about 70 something years of age when she went. And she said, it's mental. If you haven't got a car, somebody like me is crippled. You can't go anywhere. They haven't got the transport like we got in here. They don't have a sort of system that, kind of look after the pension like here. If you can't drive or something, at least somebody come and pick you up and take you to wherever you want. Nothing. You see, you are crippled. So what are we going to do in there?
Okay.
So get back, yeah.
Right.
Anyway, but you see, all this madness
Yeah.
needs a brainwash. These people been brainwashed since they were kids, and I'll take you through it. And take all those people who especially got a kid. I hope they're gonna listen to what's happening here, and it's all documented. And hopefully we're gonna release this whole lecture by Professor Walter Waite, and they're gonna see it for themselves. Everything is documented. Everything is being referenced. So the education, the world will not change and find peace if there is not a new education. And that is what U Tant, a former Secretary General of the United Nations, a teacher. Right? That's what he said. Yeah, it says to achieve world government, they're talking about the world government. So what they're going to do, create the whole world as one, as they were calling it, oneness, wholeness. Everything become one. What the socialists actually saying. It is necessary to remove from the mind of a man their individualism, loyalty to family, traditions, national patriotism, and religion dogmas. So all these things got to actually get destroyed. So they can get your brain absolutely plain so they can fill it with everything they want. One of these guys is the Robert Mueller, former United Assistant Secretary General. So he was one of the core, one of the first people that come up with this idea of chairperson of Peace Party 2000. He has been called the philosopher and prophet of hope of the United Nations. Robert Mueller is a deeply spiritual person from his vantage point of a top-level global statesperson. He has seen a strong connection between spirituality and the political cultural scene. And Robert Mueller created a world core curriculum and is known throughout the world as the father of the global education. There are 29 Robert Mueller schools around the world, with more being established each year. The World Core Curriculum earned him the UNESCO Peace Education Prize in 1989. He has recently drawn up a framework of world media coverage as public service, as well as a framework for planetary and cosmic consciousness, and a framework for the arts and culture. Especially when these people coming from the United Nations, people got no suspicious of anything going bad. Oh, it's a United Nation. And if you remember, I said United Nation, people think is the peace organization, while according to their Article 42, United Nation is not a peace organization. Actually, it's a war organization. And people don't know this either.
Yeah.
Is their own 42, yeah.
UN, even to people who worked, Irish people who worked, and there were a lot of them in the UN army, they're still quite shocked when we say, it's actually, there's nothing good about the UN, it's mostly Islamic. If you look, they seem even quite naive to the structure of it. I'm like, how do you not know any of this if you worked for them? And they were sent all into war zones. Now, Irish at the time were peacekeepers up to the UN, up to Leo last year, signed them into the second PESCO without even asking the Irish people, do they want to be in an attacking army? Now we've been signed up without anyone wanting to be in a bloody EU army. It's a disgrace. It's absolutely a disgrace. But anyway, sorry, Elvis, for interrupting you.
Yeah, because Muller is the author of the World Core Curriculum, which is designed to steer our children towards global citizenship. Yeah, this is another program, global citizenship. So we are all one citizen. Yeah, that's why they're trying to mix up, bring the African here. Oh, we are all one. We are all the same. If you say anything, oh, you're racist now, you know.
Yeah.
Earth-centered beliefs, socialist values, and you see socialist values, and the collective mindset, which is becoming a requirement for the 21st century workforce. A world core curriculum might seem utopian today, but the end of the year 2000, it will be a down-to-earth daily reality in the schools of the world. Do you see what happened? This has been said around the 1996-ish, yeah? Sort of far before the impact. It says, already predicted by the year, sort of, it might sort of look a bit strange now, but by the year 2000, by end of year 2000, it will be sort of down to earth, and it will be sort of like norm, become a norm for everyone. Obviously, when the kids mixing together in the same school, sort of like, you know, it becomes the normal to be in a sort of friend with a sort of African or Caribbean or Asian or whatever other students, you know. So it become normal for them. The underlying philosophy upon which the Robert Muller School is based will be found in the teachings set forth in the books of Alice A. Bailey. That's another lady. That's another person who is very obsessed with this thing. The school is now certified as the United Nations Associated School providing education for international cooperation and peace. This workshop offers practical tools journeying into static dimensions beyond conventional time and peace in order to gain wisdom and embody it in daily reality. So there we are. They basically giving people training, so it becomes sort of daily practice, and it becomes like part of you eventually. We will scan the past and retrieve memories to connect with the original intent of light that guide our current existence. The program includes shamanic journeys, drumming, ceremonial sharing, soul retrieval, connections with guides and spirits, and the ritual of original guest, choir psyche, or something like that. I don't know what the hell is that. An astronomical space map and the astrological chart will be drawn and journeying for each participant. So what they're trying to do in here is they're trying to actually, bring something very neutral, something like Hinduism, Buddhism, something Buddhism, yeah? Just talking about the spirituality. We are not talking about any religion, you know, we are cool. Basically starting from something neutral. Then later on, they trying to actually bring Jesus into it. You see, I'll come to it. And they comparing it with Jesus. They bring a sort of, when they talking about Jesus or they talking about God, they are not really talking about the same people. You know, when they say Messiah is not the Messiah that we know. When they're talking about the God, is not really the God, but is the Lucifer. We'll come to that. Well, it says at the world level, the United Nations has adopted a world Economic Development Strategy, the Food and the Agriculture Organization has a World Food Plan 2000, the World Health Organization, the World Health Plan 2000, UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organizations, a World Literary Plan 2000, and so many that is here, you know, kind of what the hell they created to literally cover everything. United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, and Julian Huxley is a former director of UNESCO and 1962 Humanist of the Year. It is artistic philosopher, a member of the Communistic Colonial Bureau of the British Fabian Society, and a singer of the Humanist Manifesto too. What's happening here is this guy is basically showing is a member of the Skull and Bones, and already he's a Masonic person, Freemason. Skull and Bones member Archibald MacLeish, looks like Irish, wrote the UNESCO Constitution, and several Freemasons helped create the organization.
Did you say what about the Irish?
I think it sounds like Irish, yeah. The Archibald MacLeish.
Archibald MacLeish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look up that name, Archibald. Archibald would be English, though, wouldn't it? That would be an Anglo-Norman name. MacLeish, probably Scottish. There is
Right.
Mac in Irish, but Mac is generally Gaelic. There is MC. MAC is generally Scottish.
Yeah, so in that case, it's Scottish, yeah. Fervent international, MacLeish strongly advocate one worldism. One worldism. They keep talking about one world, you know, wholeness, oneness, and they're obsessed with this. Literally going to bring everything to one thing. I'm going to skip this part because it's getting long. So hopefully when we put the video, people can read it for themselves. And is the sort of how they've been doing step by step. In 1948, Huxley wrote, the guy we're talking about, you know, in its educational program, UNESCO can stress the ultimate need for world political unity and the formalize all peoples with the implications of the transfer of the full sovereignty from separate nations to a world organization. Political manifestation in some sort of world government will be required. You see, I think last time I read something is out of this sort of book. It was even a guy called Antonio Francesco Gramsci. He was an Italian Marxist philosopher and communist politician. Yeah, you see, all these people been very, very keen on the education because they know once you got to that bit, then you can take the control of the brain. And this is what he says. He says, control the world of the education, the words, and one generation later, you will have the power in politics.
And that's what they did. That's what we're seeing very much now.
That's exactly what they're doing. So they targeting the education because they know once they got the control of all the kids, especially because in the schools there are only kids, so the parents are not there. And I'll come to that. How they've been careful about the parents taking the control of their kids, and that should be wiped out as well. UNESCO's own material explains if UNESCO is attacked on the grounds that it is helping to prepare the world's people for world government, then it is an error to burst forth with apologetic statements and denials. Let us face it, the job of UNESCO is to help create and promote the elements of world citizenship. When faced with such a charge, in brackets, let us by all means affirm it from the housetops. Under Huxley guidance, the United Nations prepared a guidebook for teachers. This is getting a bit interesting. Now from here, please listen carefully. It's getting to the, up until now it was the introduction. Now getting to the main thing, that what they are doing. Under guidance of the United Nations prepared a guidebook for teachers. This guidebook reminds them that the destruction of a child's love of country and patriotism is the first step in education that child for world citizenship. John Stormer tell us more about what it is contained in the guidebook, which actually give a reference. So you see, the child's got to be, sort of wiped off from the love of the country and patriotism. This is the more scariest thing for these people.
Yeah, because they all know that's the only thing people fight for is their country, their flag, their family, their religion. And that's what people will fight for. They're not going to fight for a world order or the UN. That isn't even the EU. That's going to be hard. Like, even though governments have signed people up, there's going to be no love for that. Why would you have a love for? It's continents that most of all, I think, of Europeans they're not connected in that way. They're not going to fight for Europe. It's just not a connection. They'll fight for their own country and their own army.
Yeah. You see, if you remember last time when I was talking about the Iran and sort of Arab and Muslim, I said when the enemy enters, invade, not enters, but invade a country, first destroy the language.
Yeah.
These things happen in the story of the earth and, kind of Babylon, the Tower of Babylon. When they say Nimrod built that Tower of Babylon to fight with God, in order to destroy him, because formerly everybody was speaking the same language. It was one language. They say it was Aramaic. So everybody was speaking Aramaic. Since the tower collapsed by God, and people fell down the sort of ground from the tower, they noticed they don't understand each other. Everybody was speaking different language. Yeah. So can you see what the importance of this? Once they ban you from the language, you are disabled.
Yeah, you're disconnected.
Your identity
you don't
is
know
gone.
how you belong. That's very dangerous.
Yeah, your identity is gone. You look at the majority of the Muslim country that it was invaded by Army of Islam.
Yeah.
All of them speaking, almost all of them speaking Arabic.
And they all identify as Muslims, not from where their country is from. They don't identify as their country.
You might say, but hold on, no, Pakistan, Afghanistan, they don't speak Indonesia, they don't speak Arabic. But no, they practice the religion by Arabic, first of all, so they have to learn. But if you look at the direction of where Islam actually spread from Saudi Arabia towards the Europe, all of those countries, Iraq, Syria, Morocco, you name it, all those countries towards the Europe, unexceptionally, they speak in Arabic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Islam was transferred, sort of, those countries in the East by population, not by force. Yeah. Indonesia wasn't taken by force; it was taken by numbers. So when they spread, that's why sort of they don't speak Arabic, but they are Muslim. So what they did, if you look, these people are speaking Arabic. So the Islam stopped their language, banned their language.
Yeah.
That happened in Iran as well. They banned the language. They banned the Farsi, the language of Iranian, Persian. But we had a person like sort of equivalent to Shakespeare in England. Yeah, he saved the language.
Oh wow.
You know, otherwise we should have been speaking Arabic by now as well. You know, but this is what the enemy does.
Iran speak Arabic.
No, only in the south. We got
Oh,
people
okay.
coming from Emirates and all that, or possibly settle down in the south. But no, Iranian, they speak Farsi. And we got the tribal languages. Like, for example, we got Kurds, they speak Kurdish, but they speak Farsi as well. Or we got Azeris or Turks in a sort of northwest. They speak Turkish, but they speak Farsi as well. So national language is Farsi. But this is what the enemy does. Always attack three things: faith, flag, and family. So if you lose these three, you're gone. And unfortunately, majority of British people now, when you're talking about I'm not religious. But when they converting to Islam, they becoming a more Muslim than the Saudi Muslim, hotter than him. Is the strange thing. But when he's a Christian, he doesn't bother to go to a church once a week. Can you see the mentality? When you're talking politics, I'm not interested in politics. So, this is where the enemy enters. When he sees you're
You were
ignorant.
saying that some parts of Iran had kept their language and others didn't, that everywhere that Islam has gone in has taken their language, so it's taking their identity away, and that was what the UN is planning to do, is like have one government. It's an all-in-one ideology that it has to abide by the rule and people identify as Muslims rather than where the country is from, and that's the plan of the UN, that they want people to recognise themselves.
Yeah, it's not the UN only, it's the Islam and Muslims as well. I was just saying, if you look at the countries on the sort of way from Saudi to Arabia towards the Europe, most of those countries, they speak in Arabic, because they were invaded and banned, they banned the language. So always I said the enemy attacks three things: faith, family, and flag. When people for example, in England, they don't respect their own flags, you're making only the enemy happy. They wearing the short Union Jack, they going on the beach and they think, yeah, I'm a patriot. No, they laughing at your stupidity. They laughing at your stupidity that you don't even respect your own flag, wearing it as a short, which, especially the Union Jack, having a cross of St. George's, and you having one wrapping your manhood and the other one wrapping your, sorry for ass, that is not a respect, right? So the enemy monitoring all this weakness in our nation. When you're talking to any majority of European nowadays, not only British, you're talking religion, I'm not religious. You're talking about the sort of politics, I'm not into politics, forget it, I'm not interested. So this is what exactly enemy wants, because they want to attack three things: faith, flag, family. Family is that identity, is that kind of, your values, your ID, everything, right? And imagine the same person who says, I'm not Christian, or I don't believe in Christianity, I don't believe in God, whatever. He has brought up in Europe, or European continent is known for two things. For Christianity is brought up, is built on the value of Christianity, yeah. And now the same people, citizens of the Europe, oh, no, I'm not interested in Christianity, but they are interested in Islam. That is madness. When they
Absolutely.
become Muslim, funny thing is, the same person who doesn't bother to go to church once a week, now he becoming a Muslim, and he becoming a hotter, even more Muslim than the Saudi, than the Arab, right? And even become jihadis. He goes to the level of extremism that he's going to go and blow up himself for Islam. Same person, he didn't give a shit about religion. Now he's a Muslim. He's hot. He want to blow up himself. Can you see the stupidity here? This is what the enemy wants. Because we're proving to them we are a bunch of morons, useful idiots, ready to be transformed to a barbar. That's the point. When you're saying to any of these Muslims, I'm not religious, you're making them happy. You're making the enemy happy. When you're saying I don't care about my flag, you're making the enemy happy. So that's what exactly they want. Anyway, let's said on the opening page of the volume 5, in the classroom with children under 13 years of age, before the child enters school, his mind has already been profoundly marked as and often injuriously by earlier influences first gained, however dimly, in the home. So they know the parents, they got a big influence, right? And once they are not at school, they are being sort of programmed or trained by their parents if they are patriot or something. This is the scary bit for them. And let's go to the next page. It says we aim to achieve a situation where humanism is understood as an ethical and fulfilling non-religious approaches to life involving a naturalistic view of the universe. So on page 8, the teacher is told the kindergarten or infant school has a significant part to play in the child's education. Not only can it correct many of the errors of home training, but it can also prepare the child for membership at about age 7 in a group of his own age and habits. The first of many such social identification that he must be achieved on his way to membership in the world society. Can you see? They talking about as little as age 7, prepare to get in as you know, our children now starting the kindergarten as little as age 3 in England.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
So
In Ireland, in France, I think they start them even at 2.
well, yeah. Imagine the parents are happy saying, oh, you know what, even better, let's go and, he become even more educated, starting at little age of 3. And also I'm free, because I don't have to bother, going to school. But your children have been taken and getting programmed.
Yeah, and thought to hate you
You
and everything you stand for.
So that's how smart and, in a way clever way, they taking all the kids, brainwashing them. And we're wondering, while we got all these young idiots
Yeah.
attacking their own people, attacking their own country, attacking their own sovereignty, yeah?
And the older people, they have such distaste and
Yeah,
actually anger towards the old people. And now
yeah,
it really makes sense, because it didn't make
yeah,
sense because people were always taught, to respect their elders and all that sort of thing. But there's a real anger towards the older generation. Sure, they're nearly dead. Why don't you just go off and die? The world's for the young now. This sort of attitude. And you saw kind of a bit through Brexit as well. Quite really disgusting attitudes. Those people who vote will be dead anyway, and it'll affect us, so they shouldn't have a right to. Real anger and disgusting comments
Yeah.
by a lot of the Remainers.
So I think I'm having a final pages on this education program. On page 58, the guidebook for teachers says, as we have pointed out, it is frequently the family that infects the child with extreme nationalism.
It's so crazy.
So what they want to get rid of all that. So the school should therefore use the means described earlier to combat family attitudes. Family attitudes. It says UNESCO gives specific suggestion in volume 5, page 11 on how it can be done. Look, they all already thought of everything. So what we're going to do about this? What we're going to do about this? You know, if the family, how we're going to deal with the family and everything, literally. In our view, history and geography should be taught at this age as universal history and geography. Can you see this? History and geography. This is the most important thing for them, right? But why it is, they don't want to go through the history as it becomes something tools for the nationalism. Yeah, they tell you just a very quick, as they calling it, universal history, nothing else. The study of history raises problems of value which are better postponed until the pupil is freed from the nationalist prejudices, which at the present surrounded the teaching of history. Can you see this? I'll read it again. In our view, history and geography should be taught at this age as universal history and geography. So they're talking about the history and geography because especially history is the big problem in front of them, right? Massive.
You
Yeah,
understand the maps and where people were born, so
yeah,
you get to understand their identity.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
study of history raises problem of value which are better postponed until the pupil is freed from the nationalist prejudices, which at the present say surrounded the teaching of history. So they're gonna get all these things erased. So this is the a few pages down. I was gonna actually is more into it, but I think possibly better actually do it another time. So the only thing can possibly, you know, can be a defense against them is to we defend ourselves by having a knowledge and
Absolutely, it's
knowing what
always
they do.
educate others. It's our only defense, and it's our only way of survival. I don't know whether I ever told you about the penal laws, but one of the things, and I've often said it to people in Ireland, the British brought in laws like the Islamic laws into countries that aren't Islamic. And one of the ways that the Irish held on to their culture and traditions was something they had called hedge schools, because the Irish under the penal laws weren't allowed to be
Mm.
educated. So
Yeah.
what they did was they had schools literally, as you imagine, in hedges. Now, if
Mm.
they were caught, they were all shot. But
Yeah.
they kept going, and they kept, their culture, our traditions, our heritage through these schools, and our language, because our
Yeah.
language wasn't allowed to be spoken either. And
Yeah.
through these hedge schools, they taught the language and even Catholicism, because that wasn't allowed under the penal laws either. So
Yeah.
the Irish had already been through this, and the famine wasn't a famine. Like, Ireland's not Africa. There was 3.5
Yeah.
times enough food in Ireland to feed the Irish. It was all shipped out.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of the British landlords at the time would praise themselves of clearing the land of the Irish. So we've already done this. We have the knowledge. We have the understanding of how we overcame it after 800 years. Why the hell are we back here again? It's insane. We're allowing everything that they hate. Like, a lot of the Irish, still whinge on about the British this, the British that. But yeah, accept it from the EU and the UN. I really don't understand it.
You see, there are two reasons. We got we got different group of people in our societies, yeah? First of all, the old famous impression says, those who don't learn from the history are doomed to repeat it.
Why do you think the Irish went really 800 years of fighting for independence, sovereignty, and nationalism to now these are all seen as dirty words? Overnight, when it comes to the British, they can still kind of recognize them as the enemy, or the ones that took. But when it comes to the EU or the UN, they fail to recognize that is exactly the same thing, if not worse, than what it was under the British Empire. Why do you think that is, Elvis?
The only thing I can analyze in two ways. One is the different group of people, as we go everywhere in Britain, in everywhere now. People is an old impression saying those who don't learn from the history are doomed to repeat it, and it's amazing. Some of these people love to repeat that. I don't know whether is they trying to make a fool of themselves, just basically, saying no, it's not really. This is not the reality, and reality is what is my dream. Yeah, what John Lennon was saying, for example. Yeah. John Lennon, to me, to some people, might be sort of a hero, I don't know, symbol, idol. To me, is the symbol of stupidity. There was no more idiot that man ever created, and I'll say it with no fear, right? That man was an example of these people. To hide the reality, to put his head under the snow and say, because I don't see anybody, nobody can see me either. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other group of people are those who basically are ignorant, naive, and uneducated. Right.
Yeah.
But education is not, education is not about going to university.
No.
Yeah. For example, my grandma, she didn't have an education behind her, but she was such a knowledgeable woman. Honestly, God bless her soul. I mean, she was very knowledgeable woman without going to school.
Yeah.
But some people don't want to learn the basics. They don't want to know what's around themselves. I don't know whether they're scared of it or they're being lazy.
I think, yeah, a bit of both, and some just believe, that they're afraid because they believe that everything that way, if they look at it in any way, then
Yeah.
they'll become a fascist racism, as if it's like a disease and you can catch it from, getting knowledge or something.
I've been telling my other fellow friends and comrades actually now, as we are becoming like a family. We're going together to marches and sort of you're a bunch of patriots who care about their country and flag. And I keep telling them, I said, up until the day you're scared of what you have created for yourself, yeah, and that is the titles that you basically created in here and given it to the enemy, say, you know what, play with it against me, right? Is a racism, is all those nuisancy, right? Absolutely stupid things, then you're going to be in the same trouble because the enemy got the perfect tool against you while they can get away with it. They can be a racist, but you can't. They can be fascist, but you can't. They can be, I don't know, Nazi, but you can't. You have to find a way to fight with it, and, find a solution for it. Yeah. As we're saying, fear is the brother of death.
Yeah.
Just believe in fear, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anywhere. Look, for the racism, yeah, even last week I saw a video of interviews of, God, I forgot the name of that presenter. And Muhammad Ali Clay. Even Muhammad Ali Clay, he comes and say, look, I want to see my kid look like me. I
Yeah.
want to have wife from my same culture. You might see a Chinese marrying a woman from Ecuador, for example. They might be lots in common, but at the end of the day, they eat two different foods. They have two different cultures. They have two different languages. They have lots of barriers in here.
Yeah.
Just because I like this woman, it doesn't make me perfect for me.
Yeah.
So why it is, I told you before that I had my classmate, for example, in a sort of mixed race. And I find them, honestly, they don't admit it. They don't want to say this. Oh, perfect. Yeah. I'm glad my dad is Caribbean. My mom is Irish or English.
Yeah.
But deep inside, I could see they are confused and sad. They didn't know where they're standing. It is their problem. Those people who marry this their problem. Majority of them, I didn't see any mixed race marriage end to the last. Majority of them they divorce. Majority of them end up disaster, divorce and all that.
Yeah.
And you leave a kid with the thing. Anyway, that is not the thing. I didn't want to get there, but you see, I keep repeating this point. Exactly what Muhammad Ali Clay was saying, but I honestly I didn't even see that video. And I was saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. That's what I thought. That's why I sent it to you.
yeah,
Muhammad Ali, an interesting guy, that Muhammad Ali. His
yeah.
paternal, I think, was on his paternal side was Irish. Now his real name is, I can't think of his real name,
Cassius
but
Clay.
he came from, what was it, Clay? Yeah. What did you say there?
Cassius Clay. Cassius
That's
Clay.
just, but that Clay man, he was actually quite famous for freeing the slaves,
That's
and
right. Yeah,
he
he was a patriot and also a somebody who fought the racism. He was a hero,
yeah, and
and
he took on the racism name of Muhammad
mm,
and Ali, who were two people who enslaved slaves
exactly they
or
were slave owners.
keepers of slaves. So it
Yeah,
is quite weird that he dropped a name that actually freed and helped slaves and took on a slave owner's name, which was
that's
quite
right.
ridiculous. That's where education and knowledge, little knowledge, if you don't really understand what you're doing, is dangerous. And you have like people like that just taking on slave when it was quite the opposite of what he wanted to do, because he believed his paternal father would have been a slave master, unlikely if he was Irish, though. Again, he just
Yeah,
didn't understand that part. The Irish went over to Caribbeans as slaves, and they were sold as slaves.
yeah,
But because they were Irish, they were actually free, unlike black Africans who actually had monetary value. So the blacks were actually looked after a lot better. Were because the Irish were free, they just were captured and taken to the Caribbean, were treated really badly, and often thrown off ships and stuff like that because they were Irish. They were free. They had no money value on them.
yeah. Generally speaking, every time now people, come to me and say, you are racist because we, especially here in London, yeah, the minute you move, you say anything, the
Go
first
away.
thing stop you is you're racist, you are a Nazi, you are a fascist. Yeah, the first thing they stick into you because they know the game.
Yeah.
So the minute they called me racist, I said to one of them, I think he was a Muslim guy. I called him. I said, "Why am I racist?" Oh, because you are a racist. I said, "How did you know? That's
Mm.
interesting." He said, "You're admitting it." I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, shame on you." I said, "Well, I want to explain it to you if you allow me." I said, "Do you believe in God?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Did you know God is very racist?" And he all of that sudden sort of electric shock. And he said, "What you been smoking?" So I'll tell you what I've been smoking. How you can possibly can't see that all the creatures of God, yeah, for millions of years they've been going with their own kind. Birds with birds, fishes with fishes, kind of giraffe with giraffe, elephant with elephant. For millions of years we recognize them as they are. And the minute the sort of the guy he wasn't expecting what he couldn't hear, he was just saying, shame on you, you're racist. And so, repeating themselves most of the time. They don't want to give up. I said, come here, I'm not finished yet. I said, how about the human race? Give you another example. God was very racist on the human race as well. What do you mean? I said, do I look like a Japanese? No. I said, does Japanese look like an African? No. Does African look like a Swedish? No. Does, I don't know, German look like a Eskimo? No. I said, so shut up they. Do they speak the same language? No. I said, so shut up. We even been separated by water. All the continents been separated, yeah?
Yeah.
So how you can possibly, with all this sign of natural racism, if you call it, you come and calling me racist, you idiot. I mean, how you can possibly, call me racist while of course, well, I love to actually mingle with my own people or something close to my people. You see, for example, when I came to this country as a Christian, already I had lots in common with European. Maybe I wasn't born in Europe, but I had lots in common with European, right? Including my religion, my upbringing. Although I was brought up in Iran, but because, you see, this is what I'm trying to say, because Europe was built on the value of Christianity, Christian values, yeah? I mean, I can easily get married to one European and live happily with a very little possibly problem. Well, everybody got a problem anyway, but, and I've been living here 29 years without any problem. I haven't been back home. I haven't missed it. And I'm telling you the truth. I haven't even missed it.
Yeah.
So why it is these people in Ireland, for example, or we got them here as well, they sooner or later they have to wake up to the reality, because any day we're missing here, we're getting closer to disaster.
Yeah.
Eventually got to come with a solution how they're going to fight all this. If you want to be scared of the day, or you're going to be called racist, or you're going to be called, I don't know, this and that, you have to find a solution for it. They called me Nazi, and these guys, they were lefties, right? And I said, are you serious? I said, how am I going to be Nazi because you're a Nazi? And I said, but hold on a minute, I'm right, I'm not a socialist. Nazis were called National Socialists. You are a socialist, you are a left, you are a Nazi, as a matter of fact. And we can see all this sort of aggression and kind of attitude that the fascists they got. You got it all. So you put in the title, you're sticking your title to me. But you have to find, you have to find how to defend yourself. And the reason we can't defend ourselves is the lack of knowledge, because we don't have a knowledge.
The knowledge is everything, absolutely. Yeah, key to everything.
You see, they've been saying knowledge is power. Without the knowledge, we are powerless. If you look carefully, whether in here or America, even America, exactly the same story. When you go into these Antifas, whatever you call them, to these lefties, to these young idiots that, coming against the Trump or whatever, oh, we don't want a wall, we don't want this and this, yeah? Even about the wall, when they're saying, refugees, well, we don't want a wall, we don't want a border. I say, hold on a minute. Where do you live? Do you live in a house? Yes. Is that house that you live, does it have a door? Yes. Does it have a wall? Yes. So you are a racist. Why are you being a hypocrite? If you're telling me, I'll challenge you, those people who says we shouldn't have a border, right? Take off your door for 1 week and carry on living as usual. Go to work, go to whatever. Just let it open. Yeah. And I challenge you. See, by end of the day, if you got anything left in that home, or you possibly even allowed to gain, possibly, some people gain and squat, and they wouldn't even let you in your own home. So why we being a hypocrite? Does anybody question? Before you say something, question it, right? You don't want a border. Why do you have a border at home? We're being a hypocrite. What can I say?
Yeah, no, completely.
That's all I can say. I mean,
Do you want to finish off the UN talk another time, Elvis, and we'll finish off this now?
all right. So thanks for having me again. Wish you a very
Thank
good.
you so much, Elvis. As per
Thanks.
usual, it's a pleasure to have you. You're fantastic.
Thanks
And thank you for
again.
coming on the show again and giving all your knowledge and information. You're amazing, amazing. And
My pleasure.
thank you so much. You're so generous with your time and your
My
knowledge. You are very generous. Thank you so
I hope I'm being helpful. I can, I hope I can
I think you're
help
more
some people
helpful
to
than you know.
quickly wake up. Don't lose your home
Definitely.
before it's too late.
Absolutely, and I definitely think, you know what, once it goes onto the YouTube, you have it there, and you're more helpful than you know. Like, knowledge is key to everything. And it's going to take a lot of work, as you said yourself. These children, the millennials, Generation X, have been trained to think in a certain way. So it's very hard to undo that. And even as a parent, I see it. It's quite a hard thing to undo. And you have groups like Tusla taking away children from parents for things like car parking or totally illegitimate reasons, just to break down the family union. And you can see it over and over again in every area of society. We're living in dangerous times. There is no doubt about that. But thank you so much again, Elvis, for coming on. It was fantastic to talk to you. You are the salmon of knowledge. You should look at that. That's what I see you as, the salmon of knowledge. That's usually Wednesday. And I always see my Wednesday as salmon of knowledge because I will learn something every day. Talking to you, I always learn.
You're spoiling me.
Not at all. No, you well deserve it. You're a fantastic man. Thank you so much for your time and your patience. And we'll talk to you. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Have a lovely day ahead. Cheers.
You are listening to Irish News Radio and irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.